What is up, everyone? Welcome to It's Called Soccer. This is the U.S. Soccer Show where we talk about everything in American soccer. My name is Jake. I'm joined by my co-hosts Tom and Manny today. Today in this episode, we're going to wrap up the U.S.'s World Cup performance and discuss Gregg Berhalter's future with the team, including some breaking news from tonight on a certain player that was almost sent home and the impact of that and our thoughts for Gregg Berhalter and this player. We'll also discuss Grant Wahl's sudden death at the Qatar World Cup and the impact he has had on the American soccer landscape. And we'll finish out on our reaction of the quarterfinal matches. A lot of extra times and penalty kicks going on that played out. So we will predict what we think is going to happen in these semifinal matches of the World Cup with games between Croatia and Argentina and Morocco and France. But first, let's check in on our co-hosts, our youth national team expert, Midwest Manny. What's up, man? How are you?
I'm doing okay. How you doing, Jake?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I know we're going into the holidays. You gonna be busy?
For sure, for sure.
Yeah.
That's why I'm gonna probably be taking like a long break and vacation from all this stuff because it's just been very hectic. But just gotta do what you gotta do, right?
All right, we'll make it the best episode ever, and then you'll come back in a month or two, refreshed and ready to talk everything that's
Possibly,
happening next year.
possibly.
Yeah, we'll see how fast you recharge your battery. All right, and our future doctor of the universe, Tom, what's up? How are you?
I'm okay, dude. I'm just trying to get through this semester. It is about to start finals week here at Penn State. Proctoring a final at 8 in the morning. Got a big project due at 10 in the morning, and my own finals start on Tuesday. So a lot going on here, just trying to survive and get to Christmas.
So it is very realistic that as you are listening or watching to this episode, Tom is doing one of those many things. So send your best vibes out into the universe for all three of us going through the next few weeks. And I hope everyone listening and watching is having a wonderful holiday season as well. So let's first start off where we left off last in the episode, where the US lost to the Netherlands 3-1 in the round of 16 at the World Cup. The US made it past a difficult group and lost to a good Netherlands team that hadn't lost in 18 months in that round of 16 match. So, Tom, I want to start with you. How did the team's performance stack up to your expectations going into the World Cup?
I was probably a little bit more down than most on our chances to get out of the group. I had done, my share of ELO calculations and modeling, and it had showed basically it was going to be a coin flip as to whether we could even get out of a group that looked like ours did. So, even though we have a lot of talent, I wasn't super hopeful for them. And just seeing them get out of the group is a huge accomplishment for me. It exceeds all of my expectations. And seeing them play their style of soccer that they have become used to playing over the last couple of years, imposing their will on teams like England, is something that I never expected was possible for this group as well. So there are a lot of positives to take away from it. And, even though we would have liked to go farther, I think it exceeds where my head was at going into the tournament.
Yeah, maybe for a lot of fans after the Trinidad and Tobago catastrophe in 2017, not making the 2018 World Cup, I feel like there's just a lot of different opinions between the fans of how far we should have gone in this World Cup. So, Manny, I want to ask you, because you have followed a lot of these young stars from the age of 17, 18, seen them grown into this national team. Where did you expect this team to go? And are you satisfied with them going out in the round of 16 against this Netherlands squad? Basketball is back, and BetOnline remains your number one source for all of your sport betting needs this season. You'll always find the latest odds, team matchup info, player news, and game trends at BetOnline. And as your continued source of all sports wagering information, BetOnline features live betting, free contests, and giveaways all season long. Always the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your favorite sports and events, whether that's NFL, NBA, NHL, MMA, tennis, boxing, golf, and obviously the best sport in the world, soccer. Head to betonline.ag to join and receive your 50% welcome bonus with your first deposit. Make sure to use the promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, to receive your rewards. BetOnline, where the game starts. Please gamble responsibly.
Okay, so you're asking, how do I feel about seeing a lot of because the team is relatively young. This was the second oldest team, well, the second youngest team in the World Cup. So to kind of see their transition from their youth days to now playing on the big stage, I think the expectations were what they were. I think you know we this was basically we'll see what happens tournament. I don't think anybody realistically expected this team to compete for a World Cup this year. I mean, I think as a fan, you're hopeful, you're optimistic, but I think realistically, we didn't really have really any type of expectations. So for them to do what they did to qualify for the round of 16, um, with such a young group, I think it bodes well for the program, because now they have this World Cup under their belt, and they actually did well in their first World Cup, so they can only the sky's the limit. They can only go up from this this tournament, um, and so what were my expectations? Yeah, basically just that I really had no expectations because this was a group that was coming to their first World Cup. You didn't know what to expect. You didn't know how they were going to handle it. Now that it's all over, now I'm going to be expecting something from them because of what they did in this tournament. So
Yeah, so maybe the expectations are building towards 2026, and add in the host element. I think that adds, maybe another round that we expect the US to get past. And hopefully I think we'll all kind of be going in with quarterfinal might be the expectation, but semis would be the dream, making it to a finals and home. But we're looking ahead 4 years already towards that. I know when we lost to the Netherlands, Manny, I want to ask you about this because I think you were a little more critical than either me and Tom of Gregg's performance, especially in that game against the Netherlands. And now looking back on some of the other information that we have, like, did Gregg let you down in that match, or was it really just like that was a winnable game that the players didn't live up to?
I think the game was a winnable game. Now whatever excuse that you may want to have for why they didn't why that didn't happen, it is what it is, but I think that was a winnable game. I personally thought that he was outmanaged. Greg Berhalter was outmanaged in that match. um I just think that the way that they played into the hands of the Netherlands, and the Netherlands capitalized on what they perceived was their game plan to exploit what we did best and to turn it into their strength, and that's why they won 3-1. Now, other people on this podcast may have other varying opinions on that, but the general sense is that we got outplayed. Well, I wouldn't say we did get outplayed, but I think they took away what we did best and used it against us. That was the gist of what happened.
I think I like, just based on the definition of outcoach, that's essentially what it means, right? You take away your opponent's strength and you leverage what you have on your side. Tom, you made a comment in the Discord today about the way that Morocco is playing and the way that they've made it to the semifinal. I also want to remind everyone that this is a Morocco team, albeit with a different coach and some different circumstances, that the US defeated 3-0 in June. So, Tom, thinking about how the US was playing, think about how the Gregg Berhalter era has built up to us playing a possession attacking style, and then seeing the way that Morocco and other teams have made it further in the tournament. Was it a mistake to not play a little bit more conservatively against the Netherlands team in that round of 16 matchup?
I wouldn't say it was a mistake necessarily. I just think it sort of shows you the writing on the wall of where international soccer is going, if that makes sense. I
How
think
do you mean?
I think that, you look at the way Croatia's played the last two World Cups, you look at how Morocco's playing right now, you look at how Japan played. Um, you look at how Spain played, the sort of defining meta of how teams are setting up to win matches is getting to be more of a mid-block, pick your moments to press, invite some pressure forward, and then be ruthless in transition, instead of just trying to control the ball for 100 minutes with possession and just try and knock it around and, hope to get a goal somewhere from that. Because defenses are so strong and so organized, and the teamwork that's sort of coalescing around some of these squads is just too great. You're not really finding ways to break them down even in 120 minutes. When Brazil and Spain are struggling to break down a low block over 120 minutes, I feel like it's rapidly getting to a point where international soccer is becoming less about how much you can possess the ball and more about how quickly you can score a goal in transition. And while Berhalter's style might have been good for this last 4 years to sort of get us on the right track, there are questions that I have about how that projects going forward.
So let's dive into that then, because Gregg Berhalter gave a public discussion about leadership, and in that he reflected on a moment in the World Cup where one of the 26 players was not giving full commitment to the team. The coaching staff, the leadership council on the squad as well, decided that this player needed to publicly apologize, not publicly, but within the team, apologize to the team about the way he was handling practices, the way he was giving effort in practice games as well. And that kind of, the whole community started thinking about who that could potentially be. And The Athletic has just broken a story about how Gio Reyna had to apologize to the U.S. men's national team about his commitment and about his lack of effort. So we know that the situation that Gregg Berhalter was discussing was Gio Reyna now, and maybe that gave in to why Gio Reyna didn't have the minutes that he was supposed to be playing and supposed to be contributing to this U.S. team. Now, all of this with the backdrop of should Gregg stay or should he go from this U.S. national team? And I want to get into that now. So, Manny, just start from there. Should Gregg stay with this national team or should he go?
So, regarding I guess the sending Twitter to blaze right now. That plays a small portion of my decision on whether I would want Berhalter out. It has a lot. It has more so to do with just his just his tactics and I just feel like we need a bit more creative mind there. Regarding the whole situation between him and Gio, like I feel like this is just me. This is just my personal opinion. Like I feel like he's never handled these rifts between him and players correctly. He's always whenever somebody in media has always asked him about a certain player, he always gives like an off answer, and then the media always has to constantly go back and ask him questions until he gives a straight answer. And I never really understood why he does that. It was like he might as well just say the straight answer from the beginning, get out in front of it. That way, the media ask their questions and then be done with it. But the fact that he has to go through these risks with these players, and then he's not giving straight answers, and then that just leaves the media to ask more questions on top of questions, and then it's just like, well, why did you go through why did you have us go through that? You could have just told us the answer from the beginning, and then
I get that, but don't you think if he did do that more publicly, that might further hurt the relationship between him and said player?
No, because like I feel like if you're worth your weight in as a manager, I feel like you're gonna gain that respect whether you do that or not. I just think that if he would have just said it straight, and again, it's not necessarily about what you say, it's about how you say it. And I think people are not really focusing on that. It's just like, well, and what if he does that? That he could just break the. No, it's all about how you say it. It's really about how you say it.
Tom, what did you think of the way that he handled this?
I feel like this one doesn't really factor into my opinion on Berhalter at all. I'm sort of reading this more as Gio Reyna being kind of a spoiled brat than I am about uh, Greg Berhalter being bad at man management. Berhalter even sort of comes off, I think, kind of well in the situation as giving Gio Reyna an out. He sort of evaluates his effort and says, okay, well, the only thing I can do to explain this is this guy must be hurt, and has him get reevaluated. And after the game, literally tells the press, well, we had him reevaluated for injury. We expect him to play a role against the Netherlands or against England because he's clearly good to go now. And then Reyna immediately goes and says, no, I was fine. I didn't need to be reevaluated, which sort of causes this controversy in the first place. I just feel like Berhalter has had his issues with specific players, but in general, he's created a very important. He's completely done a 180 on the team culture within the U.S. men's national team. And international soccer is so much more about team culture than it is about individual brilliance. So, you have to give him a lot of credit for that, even if, the John Brookses of the world disagree with how he runs things. The vast majority of U.S. players have bought into his culture that he's built around the team, which I think is a testament to the culture that has developed.
So what happens if Greg Berhalter leaves then? Aside from maybe his tactical mindset or whatever else, I think it's pretty consistent that he has built an environment that players enjoy playing in. So where do we go from here if Greg is not the person to continue with this team?
I think you have to go to a player or a manager who's going to be a player's coach, someone who the managers or the players are going to want to play for, who they believe can sort of instill that team mentality. If you go to sort of some grumpy guy who doesn't really understand the players or the culture that they've developed within a team, then you could very quickly sour that relationship that has been built up in camp. And we see players like Pulisic talk about, looking forward to camp as a way to sort of reset and recharge and re-energize. And I don't want them to lose that mentality and that sort of aspect of the national team that makes them so fun to follow. So I don't really know where we go from here if Berhalter is going, but I think that we have to find someone who's going to be willing to keep that group together and keep that mentality the same.
Yeah. And I mean, Greg Berhalter will come away being the winningest coach in U.S. men's national team history. So Manny, does that add into your opinion at all when looking back at maybe Bob Bradley's tenure or Jurgen Klinsmann's tenure, or is it just time for a new coach?
It's time for a new coach.
And do you agree with Tom that it needs to be a man manager?
I do think the manager does need to be able to relate to his players. I do believe that. But I do think this go around, we need somebody who's going to have a creative mind when it comes to developing a style of play that can translate on an international level. So, and I think that would just be best to just start this now that the cycle is practically over. You get your guy in, and then 3.5 years later, we're doing this whole dance again. So, yeah, that's how I feel.
I do want to say Greg has made statements about him missing being more involved in players' lives, and that would lead you to think that he is leaning towards wanting to go back to club football. I think also some interesting tidbits from coaches around the world have said, looking at this U.S. job, us not being in a qualifying cycle because we'll automatically qualify for the next World Cup, it might not be as tasty as a job as someone might want. And there's not necessarily a lot of competitive games between now and the 2026 World Cup to get yourself ready with this US team. Add that a lot of maybe baggage with younger players that are still maturing. So what does this job look like to foreign managers, or maybe a manager that the US Soccer Federation wants to really invest in?
Well, go ahead, Tom.
I feel like you don't want to start with someone who's just starting out as an international manager, and I'm not really sure where that leaves you. There's not really a whole lot of time to sort of get used to managing internationally. So some of the really big club managers that are getting thrown around as possibilities, I think, are just not really realistic right now.
So no Pep in 2026 then.
Oh, no Pep regardless, because I don't think that he would ever be a successful national team manager for anyone, but maybe France. But yeah, no, you want someone who has experience coaching internationally, who's going to be able to step in and completely understand the international game from day one.
Manny, what were you going to say?
What I was gonna say is that, like, on well, not kind of a side note, but kind of a side note, that I think that if we're going to open it up to foreign managers, possible foreign managers, we're gonna have to lessen the requirements for our manager. You know, the manager has to live in Chicago. I don't understand why that has to be a requirement, but you know, amongst other things. So I think that's first and foremost. But then two, just like, you know, do thorough research on the pool and what manager, what philosophy will fit not only just the current pool, but the players that are going to be coming into the pool in the next 2 or 3 years, to see how that marriage is going to fit a manager and his philosophy with the player pool. Because uh, again, I think Gregg was good for the, you know, to build up the team, to build up the camaraderie, build up the foundation of the team. But as you can see, I don't think that it will work going forward. You know, just for the heights that we're trying to achieve on the tactical side. So therefore, I think we need to switch to a different manager that has a different tactical approach. And so they need to go ahead and do research on that, and find the right person for this job.
Mm-hmm. And sorry, go ahead,
How
Tom.
many good international managers are currently available? How many people who have experience who would actually be willing to take the job?
So the best ones I think that will be available are the ones that had disappointing 2022 World Cups. And that's a difficult sell, I think, to the fan base. Even if we get, you know, Roberto Martinez, is he going to be the one that instills confidence in the US fan base? I would say he's a huge level up from Gregg Berhalter, but at the same time, if you look at his results with one of the best teams in the world, he hasn't necessarily met that. And if you look at Gregg Berhalter's results, he took the 14th best team into the World Cup and he finished 14th. So if you're in any job and you meet expectations, you're likely to continue your contract. So that's kind of my perspective, is the ones that will be available for us, the ones that might want this job, are probably going to be the ones that failed the most, or failed with the highest expectations in this World Cup.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. And, you know, my big worry with changing managers is I think that Berhalter's ceiling is not World Cup winner quality. I think we can all agree on that. But I think Berhalter's floor is a lot higher than, say, a Tata Martino's floor. And so do you sacrifice a little bit of your ceiling to keep your floor as high as possible, or do you try and raise your ceiling knowing that you could bottom out and just absolutely completely screw everything up?
If you guys did have, I want one name from you guys. If you guys did have a dream manager for the US going into 2026, Manny, do you have a dream manager?
Oh, who do I think would be a good fit, regardless if they would be open to the job or not, if they're in a
Yep.
current? I probably would say Diego Simeone. His
Okay.
counterattacking style, I think, would probably be the best for this pool.
Oh, that would
Even
be a
though he
hard
hasn't
one.
coached national
Yeah, even though he hasn't
international
coached
football.
national, yeah, even though he
Yeah.
hasn't coached international football, I just think that his philosophy will work well with our pool, our
Yeah.
current pool. Yeah.
Tom, do you have a name?
I think it's Julian Lopetegui, who I know he just signed with Wolves, but he was interested in the job last time. He was very successful in Spain, so it
We
might
didn't
be a pretty
interview
good
him.
fit. We did not interview him, but we could have.
Yeah. So, guys, just to finish out this chat about Gregg Berhalter, in the last week since the World Cup has finished, we've heard from players like Sean Johnson, DeAndre Yedlin, Jesus Ferreira, that have all said they really enjoyed having Gregg as a coach. Maybe it's too soon to talk about it, but they could see him moving forward. They could see themselves being happy with Gregg being the coach moving forward. And then, relate that back to some other quotes that we've seen about players not necessarily being confident in his ability to have the same expectations for European players versus Major League Soccer players. And then I do want to read a little bit of this Gio Reyna article from the Athletic, because I do think it's too important to not share. And so this is a snippet from the Athletic article about Gio Reyna apologizing to the team. It said, the sources who requested anonymity because they are not authorized to speak publicly about this matter said that Gio Reyna showed a alarming lack of effort in training ahead of the US's opening match of the tournament against Wales. He was in a scrimmage against the Qatari club. Reyna's lack of intensity in the scrimmage, sources described him walking around throughout his time on the field during what was otherwise an intense session, caused significant frustration with the team. Aaron Long and DeAndre Edlin have had to pull him aside and urge him to show more effort going forward. And apparently this continued for a few more days past the England match, until he did have to apologize in front of the team and kind of get his credibility back. So all of these things are happening, right, without the fans really knowing exactly what's going on. All of us are screaming for Gio Reyna to play a larger part in this team. So given all these things we now know, all of these quotes from players, all of this situation from Gio Reyna, I want to hear a yes or no answer. Tom, should Gregg Berhalter be the U.S. men's national team coach going forward?
I don't know. I'm so
That's
indifferent.
not yes or no.
I'm so indifferent on it. Like, if he stays, great. If he goes, I'm sure we'll find someone. I'm sure the U.S. men's national team fan base will hate whoever we find. So it's the same flavor. It's two different flavors of the same thing in my mind.
All right, Manny.
I'll go with yes, but like, I don't care.
Manny, should Gregg Berhalter stay or go?
I mean, I think you just kind of spelt it out. Like you said that, like, he doesn't have the full locker room. That, I think that's pretty much clear. So I think in this instance, it'd probably be best if both sides, the federation and him, should just go their separate ways.
Yep. Yeah. I'm also going to vote go. I said this a lot before the World Cup started, that Gregg Berhalter's legacy was going to live and die with his performance at the World Cup. I think now, looking back on it and being able to reflect on it with perspective, Gregg Berhalter, to me, didn't further or hurt his legacy. I think for him, if he walks away now, he will be the manager that brought us into a new generation, but met the expectations that were set in front of him and set a foundation for our team environment to thrive, which I think are all good things taken into consideration for this manager and what he had to accomplish. But at the same time, it feels like with this talent level that's starting to grow with the team, it is going to be an uphill task for any manager coming in to get the most out of us with very little deep tournament experience. So we will see going forward what that looks like. And obviously, here at It's Called Soccer, we will be talking about all of the changes as the news comes out. So before we get to our next topic, I do want to ask anyone in the chat who's watching this on YouTube, make sure in the comments below you let us know who your dream coach would be going into 2026. It can be anyone that is currently on contract, club coach, international coach, anything you want. Put that in the comments down below. I think
also whichever MLS team manager is going to end up actually getting the job after Berhalter leaves.
Wow, Tom the pessimist. We don't see that guy a lot on this show.
I mean, he's not wrong. I mean, if the federation still has those requirements in place, that probably will leave only MLS coaches. So
we're talking Cherundolo or Oscar Pareja.
Jim Kirtland.
No, Oscar Pareja just signed for San Jose, so I don't think he'll be in the running for that. But
crazier things have happened.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah, Jim Curtin would be in the running for sure. Jesse Marsh, Pellegrino Matarazzo,
Brian Schmetzer.
American coaches. Yeah. All right, guys, before we get to the quarterfinal matches and the semifinal matches, I think as an American soccer podcast and a podcast and a channel that walks in the footsteps and the shadow of Grant Wahl's legacy, we have to talk about his death in the Qatar World Cup. Rest in peace to Grant Wahl, first of all. I don't think we would be doing this. We wouldn't be talking right now if Grant Wahl wasn't working diligently and intensively over the last 25 years to cover American soccer and grow it to the point that it is now. So I just kind of want to give each of you guys an opportunity to maybe talk about that and what Grant Wahl meant to American soccer or meant to you personally. I don't know, if you read his Substack or prescribed to his Sports Illustrated articles when you were growing up, but I don't know who wants to kind of start and talk about this.
I'll go first. Honestly, I think the news just shocked us all. Like, because it's not something that you would have expected. I mean, I knew there were some issues and stuff, happening in Qatar. I don't want to sit here and speculate on what happened or whatnot, but I just think it's just rather unfortunate that such a vital, such an initial part of the movement of journalism of U.S. soccer in this country, just for the sudden passing of such a legend, I think it just crushed us all. And it's very devastating. I remember when he had the Chosen One article in Sports Illustrated for LeBron. Being from Ohio, that was kind of like everything. So rest in peace, Grant Wahl. Definitely.
Tom?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to think about the U.S. soccer landscape without talking about Grant Wahl and his impact. I mean, for 25 years, he's been sort of the pioneer of sort of talking about U.S. soccer in mainstream sports. He did it for Sports Illustrated for years. When he didn't feel like he had the freedom anymore, he moved and did his own independent thing. He stood up for his principles the entire way, going on strike to help out Sports Illustrated journalists, reporting on social issues in Qatar, even with the government telling him that they didn't want him to do that. Talking about the U.S. women's national team, being a huge advocate of the women's game for so many years. And, just amazing to see a journalist of his stature doing all that for so long, and having him gone is just, it still doesn't feel real, and it's just crushing. I don't think I've never met him personally. I've sort of read a lot of his pieces, but not been a religious follower of the Substack. But even if you just go on Twitter, or if you have friends who've been in this community for a long time, journalists are all sort of putting out these amazing tributes of how just kind and loving and wonderful Grant Wahl was to them, how supportive he was in getting them started in their career, how much he personally impacted their decision to cover U.S. soccer and their ability to do so. Or American Outlaws, who have been traveling to support this team for years, and Grant Wahl sitting down to have a conversation with them and just sort of not trying to get a story out of them, just wanting to enjoy talking about the game with a fellow fan. Our community isn't large, and to lose someone who is that kind and that passionate is just really hard for all of us. I think it's just a really big loss, and it's a void that now it's our responsibility to fill that role, be that kind, supportive, passionate fan, be welcoming, be the person who gets others into the game. So that challenge is now sort of laid out on all of us to sort of continue Grant Wahl's legacy and to be that person who's welcoming and positive and just sort of impactful and helping grow the game in domestically and abroad. I mean, teams like Dortmund and the Mexican national team have been tweeting out their condolences just because of how massive of an influence Grant Wahl had. So he'll be missed, and it sort of falls on us now to pick up the torch and keep going.
Yeah, and I do want to put his soccer opinions for a second, because I think there are other overarching themes of Grant Wahl's work and his legacy that I think we need to focus on as well, not just what he felt about the national team or how he covered soccer and his opinions there. I'll just leave everyone with two anecdotes from my time starting this channel and getting to know people within the media industry and the journalist industry. The first one was my sister-in-law was asking me about Grant Wahl. I mean, my dad also called me and asked, if I knew this person and what was happening. Um, I was explaining the situation to her and regarding Grant Wahl's wearing a rainbow shirt a few weeks ago in Qatar and being detained because of it. And my sister-in-law knows I have this show and this YouTube channel, and she said, "Well, if you were in Qatar, you would have worn that, right?" And so I don't talk about this a lot, but I have a sibling who's non-binary, who's part of the LGBTQ community, and that's really important for me to be inclusive and have that be a part of my life. And I thought about that, and honestly, I don't know if I would have the courage to be in Qatar and wear something rainbow. I really don't know if I would have the courage to do that. Um, the second is I know female journalists that have had a difficult time sometimes with the US Soccer Federation. And the one person that they always say has their back and is ready to support them in guidance or just giving some professional advice was Grant Wahl. So to be such a stature of American soccer journalism, to be at the peak of his profession and be the person that people just starting out or just starting to make it into true soccer journalism could look to him for guidance, I think that speaks a lot to who he was as a person and what he meant to the broader media community that covers American soccer. So with that, let's talk about this World Cup. I think all three of us we're excited about this ending to the World Cup. Morocco especially is a great story that we can touch upon. So hopefully you guys watching and listening to this, that is a somber topic. I hope you guys are doing okay hearing the news. I think, again, it shocked us all, but there is soccer to be played and enjoyed. And I think, that is what this is all about. And one of the many reasons why we feel excited about this sport is because of Grant Wahl's work. So let's talk about the quarterfinals then. Argentina gets past the team that beat the USA, the Netherlands, and then we are going into what looks like a Brazil-Argentina semifinal, but Croatia takes Brazil in penalty kicks. So that side of the bracket is done. It is going to be Croatia-Argentina in the semifinals. Manny, what do you think of those quarterfinal matchups, and where do you see the semifinal going?
I thought they were very interesting. On on one side of it, Argentina, they handled business. They took care of the Netherlands. I think that's what you would have expected. Leo coming out on top. And then what was the other quarterfinal? Croatia and
Brazil.
Brazil.
They both went to penalty kicks.
Yeah, and honestly, I thought Brazil was going to win there. I thought that they were going to eke one out, but that's why we played the game.
Yeah. Tom, did you get a chance to see the Netherlands and Argentina ending and the reaction from both teams there?
Dude, I was watching. On Friday I had a homework assignment that I had not finished. That I was trying to do all afternoon, and I had been watching the game in class and run after class to try and finish the assignment. And then that sort of ending happens. I'm like, crap. Well, now I have to try and finish this homework assignment while extra time is happening. And I managed to get it done as extra time ended and sprinted to my professor's office and turned it in, only to find him watching the game as I had been watching the game in my office, trying to finish it up. And both of us sort of had this shared what's going to happen here. It was sort of very crazy to sort of have that playing out and sort of know the time had basically stopped for my whole department to watch it. So yeah, I watched it. It was insanity. It sort of had everything that you want to have an entertaining game, between fights and, late goals and creative set pieces and the drama of a penalty kick shootout. It was just fun to watch. I didn't expect Netherlands to be able to pull it off once they went down 2, and it's a testament to how well they fought that they were able to get back in the game, a testament to Argentina not being able to close games out this whole World Cup. So something to watch going forward. But credit to Argentina for finding the way to get through it and, basically having a perfect penalty shootout.
Yeah. Manny, was it better or worse that the Netherlands went out in this quarterfinal matchup? And I mean that from a U.S. men's national team perspective.
I really don't know how to feel honestly about that, because it's just like on one hand you're like, yeah, Argentina, they did what we couldn't, and then on the other hand, it's just like, dang, you know, we could have been put out by Leo. So I mean, I don't know. Like I really don't know how to feel about this.
I
Yeah.
think
So
it's a sort of a testament to how good the Netherlands actually are. I think going into the game, there were a lot of US fans who completely underrated them based on their group stage performance. And after the before that match was over, they were the number 3 team in the world based on ELO ratings. They're a really strong side, and I think it sort of speaks well to us that we were able to sort of at least play competitive with them for 90 minutes. So I'm feeling
yeah.
pretty good.
All right, guys. Predictions then. Croatia and Argentina. Who's going to the final?
My heart says Argentina. I want it so bad. My head says Croatia in a really boring 1-0 game.
Manny, who you got?
I got Argentina winning 1-0.
All right. We'll see if Croatia can make it 2 World Cups in a row, getting to the finals. And we could have a repeat of the 2018 World Cup final between Croatia and France, because on the other side of the bracket, insane games again. Uh, France gets by England in a thriller of a match yesterday. Was it yes? Yes, it was yesterday. And playing them in that final will also be Morocco. How crazy is that, that an African nation has finally made it to a semifinal, also becoming only the 3rd country that is not from South America or Europe to make it to a semifinal, other than the US in 1930 and South Korea when they hosted the tournament in 2002.
Credit to Morocco. They have been heroic this whole tournament. It's just amazing to watch. I mean, that's just seeing them go out and sort of heroically defend and sort of pick their moments and get their goals is awesome to see. And I hope that they are able to do it. And then France doing France things and getting here is also impressive given how many injuries they've got in the squad. So between the two of them, they both done a lot to get here. So I think sort of both teams are playing with house money at this point.
Yeah. Manny, did you get a chance to watch that England France matchup, and what did you think of that game?
So side story, I was getting my hair done as I was watching the France England match. So yeah, man, I that one was a lot of back and forth, and it was fun. It was definitely fun. Um, yeah, just a lot of action going back and forth. You have to feel for Harry Kane. He could have tied it, but man,
Tom doesn't feel for Harry Kane,
I feel
apparently.
no sympathy for Harry Kane.
Oh, that's
fair
rough.
enough. Fair enough.
I do think that game, like we were talking about earlier in this episode, is really an embodiment of, like, tournaments are about moments.
Right.
And France took their moments, England did not. And either team could have won that match and gone on to the semifinal.
I also feel like it's a testament to the XG model of looking at soccer playing out right in front of our eyes, where England had
Here
overperformed
we
their
go,
XG
nerd.
so much throughout this tournament. They were like plus 6.5 G minus XG goals scored versus XG. They were so freaking lucky to be in that point, to be that high ahead. And eventually they were going to have to regress to the mean and have a game where they underperform their XG. And they just happened to do it in the most spectacular way possible, which I think is just funny.
Yeah. And I feel like that kind of happened to the US as well, where we
We
regressed to
were
our
bang
mean.
average for the World
Yeah.
Cup, actually. We actually, if you look at it, we were 0 G minus XG. We were basically right in the middle of like average performance of the tournament.
Yeah, we had one of our worst games when it really, really mattered and counted.
Yeah.
But hey, that's how it goes. Um, Manny, who do you think is going to get to the final between France and Morocco?
You want it to be Morocco, but I think the clock is going to strike 12 for Cinderella. So unfortunately, so I got France winning 3-1.
All right. Tom?
Comes down to how well Hakimi can play against the Moroccan or against Mbappe, and it comes down to how well the Moroccan center backs can defend Giroud. And I feel like Giroud's going to find a moment and finally make Morocco pay. I think it ends up being 2 or 3-0.
Yeah.
Worth noting that there's not been a repeat World Cup final since 1986, 1990, and the only repeat World Cup final ended in a different winner. So we'll see how that plays out. Argentina, West Germany.
That would be pretty crazy. Just how everything has to play out to be on opposite sides of the bracket. If Morocco and Croatia go through, that will be a full Group F final. The winners and runner-up of the group would make it to the final.
Man, poor Canada.
Yeah, and Belgium, who bailed out third.
Yeah, I mean, Canada ends up with Belgium's golden generation trying to get out of their group and finally win a World Cup. They end up with 2 World Cup semifinalists, potentially 2 finalists. I feel so bad for them.
Yeah,
I didn't before the tournament. I feel so bad for them now.
I don't know. I feel like you feel like towards Harry Kane, towards Canada at this moment. I could take it or leave it for Canada's pity. But all right, so I think consensus has us going France, Argentina final. I think that would be a banger of a game. Hopefully we get something. I think Morocco still has a little bit of shock left. They have only given up 1 goal this entire tournament, and it was an own goal. So going against France, Kylian Mbappe, Giroud, a crazy good line, front 3. Ousmane Dembele, who still from his days playing in Dortmund with Christian Pulisic when they were just coming up, and that was a deadly attack. So I'm looking forward to those games this week. The final will be next weekend. Make sure to subscribe to It's Called Soccer, because we are going to be talking about this World Cup. Again, let us know in the comments who that coach is that you're dreaming of for 2026. We are going to leave you with some last words. Manny, what is your last word?
Go to Tom first. I want to see what Tom
Tom, what is your last word?
I got 2. My first one is, if you would please consider supporting us on Patreon. I'm about to sort of get started on the 2026 community roster poll for the World Cup, and would love inputs on how we should run this community roster poll going forward over the next 4 years, sort of tracking our player pool and our opinions of it as we go. Our Patreons are so helpful in sort of making that all happen and helping me sort of get that all pulled together. Secondly, I just think, in light of everything that's happened to this week, enjoy it. Enjoy your World Cup and cherish your time watching soccer, making memories with loved ones, because, you just never know what's going to happen in life. And, it's just amazing that we get the chance to sort of talk about this and experience moments like this every 4 years. So it's awesome. And I'm so glad that I get to do this and get to hang out with you guys.
All right, Manny, was that enough time?
Yeah, that's enough time. So I'm going to assume that this is going to probably be maybe the if not the last, maybe second to last video of the year. Possibly. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Something like that.
So just first and foremost, happy holidays to all of our listeners, all of our Patreon subscribers, and just everyone that supports us. It's challenging to kind of like all get together to make these different videos and things of that nature, and because we all have different things that we got going for ourselves and different schedules, it kind of makes it even more difficult to try to schedule time to kind of do these things. So don't take for granted the time that you have with your loved ones, your family, your friends, because you never know. Tomorrow might be your last. So, just appreciate that time. And then 2, just to be out on the lookout. There's so many different tournaments going on next year. You have the U17 championships, CONCACAF champion. You got the you got the U17 FIFA World Cup. You have the U20 World Cup. You also have the U15. You have CONCACAF U15 championship. You got Gold Cup. You got Nations League. So much content out there. We're going to be covering
Women's World Cup.
Women's World Cup also too. So just a whole bunch of soccer content, and we're going to be covering it also. Just stay tuned and be be on the lookout for that. So those are my words.
Well, I want to thank you guys because it was difficult to get time this weekend, mostly because of me. I am expecting a baby in February, so these holiday weekends have started to fill up with baby showers and time with our family and our parents getting ready for everything. So I do appreciate just this channel as well. I feel like content can be a crazy cycle where if you don't talk about it right away, it can become old in a day or two. So the fact that we still get to come back and talk about these things, talk about the matches, everything that's happened over the last week, I just really appreciate this community that is here to stay and talk about American soccer in a way that is always feeling like it's positive and connected no matter what we're talking about. So thank you to all of you who have joined this community, who talk to us on Discord, who talk to us in the comments. I've loved throughout the last 18 months is really when we started, and to see names that we recognize in every episode talking in the comments in the Discord, it's just awesome to see. Saying that, I think some of these long form videos will start to drop off. We'll obviously have the podcast every week, but I think on the channel, what I'm going to try and do is just as much as I can put things out, and that might be in more short form content. So make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube, but also if you can, I'll put the Instagram and TikTok accounts in the description. I'm trying to grow those accounts as well to stay connected to all of you guys. So if you could go and follow those, that would be amazing. But otherwise, I'm going to echo what we said. Enjoy your time. Enjoy the World Cup. Make sure you hug your loved ones. Tell them you love them. And we'll see you next time on It's Called Soccer.